23 years old, one of the most intelligent men that I've ever met, Tony Williams, is going to talk about reparations. Give it up to Tony Williams, organizer, South Minneapolis.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Tony Williams. I'm a community organizer with NOC. I have a few questions. So when we finally get to this promised land that we've been talking about, when incremental reform is completely completed and we're almost finished with abolition, are we going to acknowledge that the war on drugs led to nothing but pain and lost opportunity for communities of color? Are we going to assess the financial and emotional costs of those lost opportunities? And if we're going to, why don't we start that process now? Now, we have not only a right, but a moral and a legal obligation to provide restitution for the cost of biased prosecutions, for the damage of mass incarceration, and the trauma of police murder. I'm talking about reparations. We need to call the criminal justice system to account for the wealth that it has stolen from communities of color. The financial burdens of mass incarceration alone are inconceivable, to speak nothing of the years lost and the families shattered. So many members of our communities who would be earning normal wages outside of jail are made to slave away for less than $1 an hour in prison, right? The blood and sweat of these inmates is turned into products, and the owners of these prisons turn around and sell them for a tidy profit. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? When it comes down to it, it's not that the system was created to imprison thieves, it's that the system itself is theft. And if we're talking about acts of theft from black communities, the list is long. From the wealth extracted from black bodies for hundreds of years during slavery, to the real estate covenants and housing redlining of the 20th century, to the predatory loans that in our lifetime led to the 2008 financial collapse, we find that time and time again black communities have been used to create wealth for other people while being denied opportunities to generate it for ourselves. And the evidence is in the census data. The average black household has 6% of the wealth of the median white household. 6% of that wealth. And it's in a world where the average white household has less and less wealth because the 1% is hoarding more and more to itself, right? It's not just black communities that have been stolen from. We're all being stolen from, but it is black communities that have suffered the most, who have been denied that opportunity and that hope for the longest. So when we begin to talk about fighting for equality, we need to understand that black communities will never be equal without massive, massive economic investment. We're talking about a New Deal here. You can't just pull a knife out of a person's leg and expect them to get up and run just as fast as someone else. They need bandages, they need antibiotics, they need time to heal. And these things are not just a fever dream, right? This is not a collection of crazy people who are standing up here talking about reparations, right? There are actionable models that have resulted in a change that have occurred in different places. I mean, we can look at the banks, right? Banks have been successfully sued for housing redlining and for different disproportionate mortgage policies, and that millions and billions of dollars has been reinvested into community initiatives. You know, as Rod said earlier, just at the 4th Precinct, like, we redirected $605,000 that could have gone into further fortifying and occupying force in our community, and we took that money and redirected it into community initiatives to try and make things better for everybody. Chicago passed a Reparations Act. People don't know that. I didn't know that before a couple minutes ago. They gave money to individuals who had been impacted by disproportionate violent policing in the city, and also redirected money to institutions, re-entry programs, those kinds of things to try and do that. The Chicago Reparations Act, y'all, it happened. You know, in the Holocaust, right? Obviously, like, Germany paid out billions and billions of dollars in restitution over decades to the victims of the Holocaust. So let's talk about reparations. Let's talk about divesting from the prison industrial complex and investing in free community college. Let's talk about ending corporate tax breaks and investing in black entrepreneurs. Instead of building new stadiums, let's build free housing in every marginalized community in America. End homelessness overnight. Let's talk about taking money away from every system that has ever been used to keep us in chains and investing that money into bolt cutters. Let's talk about reparations.